well means eating foods of wide variety.
Choose a lot of different foods, don't settle on a few.
Hey, choose a balanced diet if you want what's good for you.
And don't forget that exercise
Completes the recipe.
So eat well and be well, that's the key.
Eat well and be well, that's the key.
An apple for the teacher. Which one of you sent them to me? It's a great present, because each one of these pretty round things has a lot of the vitamins in it that I need. You remember that from our last time, don't you? And you remember me, huh? Your Eat Well, Be Well friend? The fellow who's giving you all this food for thought. I say food for thought because I'm sure you've been thinking more about the food you eat, and that you're choosing what you eat intelligently, so that your bodies and your minds will be strong and healthy. Remember? 4, 4, 3, and 2. You gotta know what it means for you. Sure, I'm talking about 4 servings from the bread and cereal group, 4 from the fruit and vegetable group, 3 from the milk and cheese group, and 2 from, well, what's left? This one here, the meat, poultry, fish, and beans group. A variety of foods will help you to be healthy and grow well, because the variety will give you A, B, C, D, E, and K. Vitamins are what we say. Remember that one? The vitamins and minerals that keep your bodies functioning well. As we learned, we can get many of the vitamins and minerals we need from the fruit and veggie food group, but not all of the other nutrients we need. For instance, protein. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Protein, which we find in large quantity in the meat, poultry, fish, and bean group. Nearly everything in your body is made up of protein. Yeah, it's in all your millions of cells that make up your body. It's in your bones, it's in your muscles, your teeth. It's even in your hair. Yeah, it's everywhere. The protein you eat gets broken down when you digest it, and it gets built back up to go to all parts of your body to build cells and repair them. A lot of cells have to be built and repaired and replaced every day. So, a good deal of the protein in your body has to be replaced each day. You really need it at your age when you're still growing, even more when you're recovering from an injury or an illness. That's why proteins are often called the body's building blocks. You know, proteins are not all alike. They vary in the number of building blocks they have in them. So, in order to be sure we feed ourselves all the different kinds of proteins we need, we must eat different foods. Foods rich in complete protein from the animal sources, like meat, fish, chicken. Those are the foods that people think of first when you say protein to them. But, as you saw in our balanced diet mobile, we can also get protein from other foods. Milk, nuts, eggs, and beans that come in a pod, like lima beans are a different kind of protein. They're called legumes. L-E-G-U-M-E. They're an incomplete protein, but they become complete proteins when eaten in certain combinations. Beans with grains. That means beans with rice or with a grain bread, or like cereal with milk. They become a good protein source. Believe it or not, this is a legume. Yep, our friend the peanut. 50% of the peanuts grown in the United States are made into peanut butter. Peanut butter is high in vegetable fat, but if you're not over your desirable weight, combined with a grain such as whole wheat bread, it's a good and inexpensive source of protein. And you can put it together yourself. Later on, I'm going to tell you how foods are combined in other countries to make complete proteins. But first, let's find out what happened to our friends who were born and raised on a space station where they never eat food but get refueled in a supersonic way. I'm sure you remember where we left them after they tumbled out of their vehicle. Pan and Chip collapsed from hunger and worry in the vegetable patch where they landed. Rabbie went off to find help. She met up with Mary, who was delighted to adopt a new pet because her white lamb had gone off to raise her own family. Now, to keep Rabbie safe, Mary fenced her in the garden. Mary has brought Rabbie all sorts of vegetables, and Rabbie's been very adventurous, trying one thing after another. And all of it's so good. Much more fun and satisfying and delicious than refueling. And it was a great feeling to chew and feel her teeth working. So Rabbie is feeling quite well, peppy and spry, and anxious to get out and get going. Now it's Monday morning, and Mary has to go to school. "You can come with me," Mary said to her new pet. "Everywhere I went, my lamb was sure to go, so you can too." Rabbie didn't know exactly what was going on and considered hopping off on her own, but Mary had been so good to her that she decided to follow her and see what would happen. The road to school happened to be just the road that Rabbie had been on 2 days before. So pretty soon, surprise! There were Chip and Pan, lying there. "Chip, Pan, wake up, here I am," Rabbie cried with relief.
"Oh, my goodness, where have you been?"
Chip asked weakly. "And you look so well. Your color is so good," Pan managed to say. "My hair is falling out, and I'm so very tired." Although Mary couldn't understand the language of the three little space animals, she understood they were friends. "I guess you want to stay together, and I can't take you all to school, but I do hope we meet again." Mary was a very polite young lady. She hugged Rabbie, patted Chip and Pan, and left. "I know what's wrong with you," Rabbie announced importantly. "You haven't any nutrients in you because you haven't eaten anything, because you don't know that all these things around you are eating things. Look." And to show them, she pulled a carrot out of the ground and ate it. They couldn't believe it. Then Rabbie nibbled at some broccoli, and then some beans, and on a tomato. Chip and Pan were fascinated, amazed. Slowly they did some nibbling too, and pretty soon they were gobbling this and that, anything they could get their teeth into. "It's better than refueling, isn't it?" Chip and Pan nodded. They couldn't talk with their mouths so full. They were feeling better, much better, almost like their old selves. Their color was better, their fur brighter, they could see better. They had pep and energy, and so off they skimmed. They skimmed around all day, but they never saw a spaceship garage or a launching platform or a power pod or anyone who looked like a space person. And finally, their stamina was giving out. They were getting so tired. They had to stop skimming and start walking.
"I don't like to complain," Chip said, "but those green and yellow and orange things we just ate aren't holding me up."
"And me neither. And I feel smaller. Do I look smaller to you, Rabbie?" Pan asked.
"Sort of. Maybe."
Rabbie's ears were beginning to droop again. They dragged on, and a few minutes later they came to a weird-looking place. At least it looked weird to them. What kind of a place could it be? They noticed everyone coming out looked happy and strong, and everyone going in looked cross and anxious.
"They're eating in there," Chip reported, "only it's different stuff."
"It must be only for this planet's strange big creatures," Pan suggested.
No, it isn't. I see a tiger doing it."
Chip got quite nervous about that.
"And he's fierce and enormous."
Rabbie's curiosity got the better of her. "Let's go in and let's try eating that stuff. Maybe it'll make us feel happy and strong too." So they snuck into the meat eatery, very careful not to let anyone see them, especially that gigantic, fierce cat named Fido. They managed to sneak some hamburger and chicken and fish and took it off to a safe corner where they could try it out. After only a few bites, they began to feel the difference in themselves. Pan started to feel bigger. "I wonder what this is," he said.
"I don't care. I like it."
Chip could feel his strength coming back, and Rabbie felt as if she could hop over the moon. As a matter of fact, she got so frisky that she let Fido see her and had to take a gigantic leap not to be caught in his claws. Fido chased Rabbie around, furious she had escaped him.
"Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear,"
Chip chattered, perched next to Rabbie out of Fido's reach. "Rabbie, you really don't use your head sometimes," Pan sighed, huddled next to her. Fido, the attack cat, was poised to attack them. How could they get out? Frankly, Rabbie and Pan and Chip were very frightened at the thought of spending the night in the neat eatery. And frankly, they had every right to be. Well, I wonder how they're going to get out of that jam. But at least they've discovered proteins by eating the meat and poultry and fish in the neat eatery. But as you know, Not all people eat meat for different reasons, but they know they need protein, so they get it by combining incomplete proteins, using the foods most available in their native country. In the Middle East, for instance, the Middle East is over here. They mix chickpeas, a legume, with sesame oil, a grain, to make hummus, which they eat with pita bread. Now, I'm going to show you how to make a pita pocket sandwich. And you can do it yourselves because it's what I call cold cooking. You don't need any sharp utensils. You start with a part of a pita pocket opened up. And in goes some sprouts, like we're growing. I'm going to show you in a moment. Then in goes the hummus, which is mashed from these chickpeas here, and some oil. That's sesame oil. So we have a complete protein. Then I add some tomatoes, because they look nice and they're from another food group, and a few of these sprouts for decoration. You know, if I had some grated cheese, I'd put it on. And in this pita sandwich, we'd have something from all 4 food groups. Try it. I know you'll like it. It's a great lunch, even just a snack. You can find the ingredients or the finished dish in your supermarket. Now, what do the Mexican people do to make a combined protein? You know where Mexico is, huh? Yeah, it's right here, just south of our border. Well, one of their favorite and most nourishing dishes is red beans with rice and cornmeal tortillas. Beans and grains make a complete protein. There are many Mexican foods in the supermarket, so why don't you pretend you're on a trip south of the border and try their foods for a different kind of protein? Okay, which do you suppose is the king of the beans, or the queen bean? The bean that's used even in plastics, paint, varnish, candles, and soap. Of course, I don't recommend you eat it in those forms, but it's also used in margarine or for salad oils, and a milk is made of it. When it's dry, it becomes a sort of a nut. It can be made into flour and used to make a cake or cookies, and it can be made into a kind of a paste called tofu. It's also a sauce. Well, by now I'm sure you know. It's the soybean. It's a great source of protein, and it has no animal fat in it. These beans were first grown here, in China. But now, more are grown in this country than any other. You can grow some bean sprouts to combine with grains and make a complete protein, the way they combine grains and beans in the Middle East and Mexico. All you need are some mung beans. You can get them in most grocery stores. What you do is, you wash a half a cup of them and soak them overnight in cold water. Then drain off the water. You punch holes in the lids of the screw-top jar, or you can just use a top like this. You put the beans in, and then screw the lid back on. Then put the jar in a dark place. Every day, rinse the beans and drain the water. Put it all back in the dark. Sprouts will be ready to eat in about 5 days. Well, we've been talking about the combined proteins we get mixing legumes and grains. But now I'd like to add a word about the other foods in this food group. They provide us with a complete protein. That's meat, fish, and poultry. They're really good for you, but they'll be best for you if you don't eat the fat on the meats or the fatty skin on the chicken. Leave that aside. You don't need that extra energy that fat provides when you eat a balanced diet from the other 4 food groups. So leave the fat in the 5th food group, okay? Just a word to the wise.
Is that it for today? Yep, that's the story of protein, the building blocks of our bodies. Very important, very important. Everything about eating right is important, especially for persons who are still growing. Especially for everyone, you nut.
Agreed. So, eat well and be well, friends, and see you soon.
Eating is a key to being healthy as can be.
And eating well means eating foods of wide variety.
Choose a lot of different foods, don't settle on a few.
Hey, choose a balanced diet if you want what's good for you.
And don't forget that exercise
Completes the recipe.
So eat well and be well, that's the key.